hello to everybody here as well as on Zoom. My name is Tod Raines, and I'm here with the club member. I'm here to do a demonstration on bowl coring. So the first thing I want to say is that I own the wood turning tool store. That's why I'm wearing the T-shirt. I'm trying not to do a commercial. If you have questions about any tools, please feel free. The thing we're going to do tonight is bowl coring. I'm going to turn a bowl blank just to kind of size it up. This is very dry hackberry. Hackberry, thank you. I do like turning hackberry. I like the whiteness of it. It's a good palette for doing some color. But I won't core this. I've got some wetter pecan that sand provided in boot spot. So from there, let's just quickly round this out. What we want to do is end up with a shape like this, bowl shape, whatever it may be, and put a large tenon on it. So I put an oversized tenon on the bowl. This is probably half the size of the diameter. 4-inch tenon for bowl coring. I think even if you're doing a small one, the bigger the tenon, the better. So that's what I would recommend. I've got a couple of chucks here tonight to work with. I've got a one-way stronghold, and I've got these profile jaws. So they're straight up and down, but I've got the serrations on the inside. I've got the sort of mustache shape to them. This works well. Nothing wrong with the little hot on the audio. So nothing wrong with the profile jaw, and I think it works well. I've also got these tower jaws on this Axminster chuck that are just slightly smaller. When I was in the booth and prepping a blank, I actually cut this tenon just too small for that one. This one will fit this one. So these are just under 4 inches. So a good big tenon is what you're going to need. Depth of the tenon, whatever fits the chuck, will work. We'll get a nice rounded shape. We could put a tenon on the front. We may do that. Just when we pour this out, then we have something cold. That's not what the purpose of this was. Well, this was expanded. Let's see. The other thing just to talk about, first of all, is a little bit of safety. I've brought my face shield here. So when I'm turning this blank, I've got a between center, we'll be wearing a face shield. I encourage everybody to wear a face shield and stuff. When I get to coring, I'll switch to a safety glasses. When I'm coring, I'm standing out of the way of the throw back here, quite a ways away. It's going a lot slower. It's a lot less violent on the operator for both. So make sure everything else is tucked in. I've tucked my mic pack in behind my shirt. Got loose clothing. Make sure it's tucked away. What else about safety? Speed kills. So whenever I turn the lathe on or off, I always turn the rheostat or the speed control all the way down to 0. So if I do actually pull the trigger, nothing's happening. So I try and do that. I do leave my tools on the bed. I know some people, it depends how this operates with shakes. I mean, they stop doing that. Gloves. I do wear a glove every once in a while if I'm doing something where it's a bark, things like that. Like my hand if I'm close. But otherwise, I don't wear gloves. And if I do wear a glove, it's fingerless. Got the fingers off. Typically, it really protects this part. Sharp edges. You'll see them when I get this face trued up. I'll ease the edge. I'll always ease the edge. So I'm sure many wood turners have a scar on the palm right about there. So. Safety glasses and clothes. So just be safe. I should have cleaned this off a bit. I'm not sure about my belly, but all right. So we just want to get a shape. The other thing I did is I preset my calipers to the size of the tenon I want. There, so that'll fit just outside of that. I've got those locked off, so we'll be able to see what size the tenon we're going to put on once I get this base screwed up. So that'll give me a kind of an indication of where I want to be, just visually. Tailstock is tight. That's tight. Headstock, make sure that's tight too. I've had my headstock wrong to tighten things up. Another thing I look at when I'm tightening the tailstock is I look at any sawdust down here, make sure it's not moving. So something moving just ever so slightly. Good. The other thing you can do with a four drive spur center is lock the spindle, rock it back and forth to kind of bury that a little bit. Tighten that up. All right, good to go. Tool, the wood passes tool rest, so we're good there. Power on. See how far this walks. Not bad. Stop there, and that is 708. We got a 5/8 bowl gouge that is 55-degree bevel and swept back wings. Probably put another handle section on this one. And just a bit of patience as you get that corner knocked off a little bit. If I get a bit more speed, I will. If I get that harmonic, I might be able to get past it and go a little faster. Now it's not shaking. That's a good thing I moved all their coffee supplies over there. They have them all spread out here. So I didn't want to get sawdust in their napkins and plastic glasses and all that stuff. So the belts and hookahs. The other thing we want to look at is belt speed. I think we're okay on the high speed for turning this outside. But when we get to coring, we'll turn the speed to the low belt. It's nice and tight. So I guess 1.5 horsepower is on this thing. That's the belt speed. So speed's down to 0. Back up. Past the wobble. Take smaller bites. I don't turn with my left hand too often, but I do when I'm roughing out so I don't get covered in shavings. Well, I didn't want to core hackberry or dry hackberries. Find little tools, maybe a little dull. Yeah, okay. Yeah, we'll do. So change that for a half-inch gouge and maybe a bit sharper. Get into the tailstock area, or the tenon area. Smaller gouge and raising the tool rest a little bit. On and it was about 1500 RPM. My tool is a bit small for this overreach, but that's what's squealing is my tool. But it's better it than me, so. One of the reasons sometimes I wear a glove, I'm getting pelted right there with nice warm hackberry shavings. I'm now starting to form the tenon by getting that way. The pull cut that transitions into a push cut. Around the rim. I come back this way and try and get the front of this face leveled out. And beat that up with a somewhat dull tool, but use the other edge. A little bit too much at once. Just about flatten it point. Get a knot something there. Yeah. Took a chunk out there. So we got pit running through this thing on this side and on this side. So not a great pull of the core, but interesting figure by the way. I think that's flat enough for the face. It's running true on the face. I'm just going to ease that edge and back around the size of the tenon. So from here, I can kind of just guesstimate about where my tenon's going to be. I'm not going to scribe it. I'm pretty close, probably a quarter of an inch away. That means an eighth of an inch on either side. The dull tool. We'll just get that nice sort of hemispherical bowl shape roughed out. Look, I'm pretty close, probably an eighth of an inch away. So now there's a time to kind of really form that tenon. Depending on what kind of chuck you use, you may want to you may want to do a dovetail or a straight one. I'm going to do a straight one. And it'll fit into my dovetail jaws here just fine. I'll just crush the inner. Like I said, I'm not going to be coring this one, so I might want to do a dovetail on wet wood, but on dry wood. But on the wet wood, the fibers are wet enough to crush the square tendon. So I've got a little spindle gouge here. This is how I typically cut my dovetails. I'll just rock this tool in that way and create a tenon. I can do it a square one or a dovetail just by angling the tack. And I'll probably go a little bit deeper than this. So I may take just a bit more off and make that maybe about an inch deeper. So it down, on and speeds up. So take it another 1/8 of an inch deeper. Transition that into a push cut. On this side, just kind of smooth that out. Not too far overhang. Slow down a little bit. I was going a little too fast, so I was bouncing, so slow down your feed rate if that happens. Got another sharp edge there, so I'll come back and just ease that. So this is looking okay, ready for the final trim. I need to flatten this lip down a little bit. I'll get my spindle gouge out, and we'll get back on there. Touch it out with the tool rest. So just a little spindle gouge cut. Down to the bottom. I'll rotate and use the bottom wing to scrape the bottom and make that flat area. So this is the important transition right in here, right in the corner, where we want to get a nice interface right in that corner. We got a flat here, we got a flat there. That should work with a pretty good channel. The only other thing I want to worry about is this middle point. When I close these jaws down quite a bit, there's not a lot there to have a spigot go through. So I want a small enough tenon or point on my end of my tenon to fit that hole in case I need it later. These ones I've done already. I have that little spigot left on there with the tail point center. Yeah, Dave. Oh yeah, sure. Sorry. Yeah, when it's when we get to coring, it's going to be a lot louder, so I'll try to have to speak up. So we'll flatten this off a little bit right here and make that a little bit smaller in the center. All right, so just roll gouge to kind of flatten this area off. I'm looking down the side to see how flat it is. I get my tool right up close to that point center. And get it as small as I can. That's going to be good. So let's check that to see if that's going to fit our chuck. And there. All right, so moment of truth. Hold on. I have just barely a 1/16 of an inch gap in my jaws, probably a little too small for my liking. So, but that would work as well. That's nice and tight and creating a nice grip on that end. So from there, the shape on the outside, I would probably get rid of that one lump there I got there, but I think for coring this out, this is adequate for getting a core done as quickly as you can. you're a production turner, which I am not, then that's all about speed and making yourself as most productive as possible. So we are going to take a look now at the two coring systems and core one of the wet pieces of oh, keep mixing hack there. Oh yeah, there. Wet wood's always going to be easier, so I would do it all wet. And what I've heard and talked with Mike Mahoney about, he's does all his coring in the wintertime. So he'll cut and collect logs in the fall and do all the coring in the wintertime. Um, it seems to be coring season in the wintertime, so uh, that is it's around here somewhere, right? The knockdown bar. Oh, there it is. Thank you. So yeah, wet wood if you can. This little ash piece that I passed around was dried when I cored, and it's a chore, right? It's um, something in that headstock there. Okay. So yeah, if you can do the wet coring. Um, let's put this one on. We'll do. I wouldn't really recommend tower jaws for coring. A lot of forces going on, so I think the stubbier the jaw is probably the better. But this is the size that I had to fit this one or this one, this one. So I prepped this one while I was at SWAT in the booth demo, and I when I first shaped them at home, and my key there it is. I shaped these outside and put a tenon on them. I think they were what 5 days old, Sam, when you harvested them, and so I waxed them up and stuff. And on a couple of them, I'd wax the tenon, and I really didn't want to do it. So I thought the tenon would be okay just to go straight from my bag of sawdust when I prepped them. That's how I kept them for the 4 weeks before SWAT. Is I prepped them like this, coated them with anchor seal, and then put them in shavings in this dark ink bag. And but lo and behold, I get SWAT and they actually old them a little bit. So I had to get them back on the lathe and true up the tenon. I true this one up just a little too small. So I couldn't turn this one at SWAT. So I saved it. We can do it here today. Get a grip on it. Actually, this yeah, this is closing one. So this is the one that I undersized. I thought it was the other one. We'll do this one, and if we got time, we'll do the other one as well. So we'll get actually before I even do this, but I got this chalked up. We'll get it typed up. What we'll do is we'll show setting up the corner system. Let's set that aside for a second. We've got two systems here tonight. The big one, which I'll show first. I don't think we're going to be able to use this one here tonight. I think the lathe is too small. And I'll explain that in a second. So it comes in a nice box, all foam padded and stuff. Bring out the main body. So this is called the Bowl Saver Max 4. This is their fourth iteration of the Bowl Saver system. And so it's got a very stout, heavy platform on it. And you'll see compared to the other one when I bring it out, it's quite a bit larger than the original. So tool post, I'm just going to put that in there to have a place to hold it. I assemble it. So it's got a conical washer and a big machine screw holds it to that tool post. The reason I say this may not work on this lathe might be obvious at this point, but let's see. Chris asked the question at the beginning, what size lathes do you need? And for this Max 4, minimum of 1.5 horsepower, which this lathe is, but typically an 18-inch or bigger. This is a 16-inch. And so one of the things about jets like this is they have tool post heights that are typically quite squat, if you will. So this height that goes into the banjo is about 4.5 to 5 inches. And if we line this up, this is normally the way it's going to kind of go. Put this center back in. You can see my blade platform. My post is all the way to the bottom of the banjo. It's not going down anymore. It's hitting the handle. If I grab a blade, this Max 4 comes with 3 blades. It can core 3-inch up to 18-inch. So there's the large blade, medium blade, and small blade. So the medium and small blade are common between this system and the smaller system. The smaller system is what we're going to have to use here tonight. So if I load up, put the little blade in there. Yeah. For the Max 4, not yet that I know of. They're really advocating for a larger lathe. This one. Most small lathes that are 16-inch and smaller don't have 1.5 horsepower brake. So this one is a 1.5 horsepower. But if we look here at where my height of my blade is going to sit in relation to the center, I'm way too high. So this can't go down. You could maybe take a machine shop and chop this off. But so far as I know, we don't have tool posts that are any shorter than this one, which is about a 6-inch post. So, but that's how you'd set it up. Let me just show you the rest of the attachments here, just to kind of give you a flavor of what it does. So there's this big piece that is the handle clamp. Right. There's 3 bolts that go in there. I won't assemble the whole thing, but I want to get you a flavor of what it looks like. The different parts and pieces that you might want to look. So once this is assembled, then the way I kind of keep it is fully assembled. I don't really take the tool post off. I usually don't take this off, but I want to kind of show the whole process. So this. We'll just get those started. You see this tailstock piece that's hanging out there. That is going to go, if this fit. That's a bit of a nudge. This is yours. There. So this number 2 Morse taper device would go typically in your tailstock. It's not going to line up, but imagine, if you will, that went through there. It gives you another place of support once this is tightened up. So once that is tightened in place, then the third thing you can do is comes with a threaded all thread rod. And that's going to go through your tailstock. And that's going to thread into the end of this. So now your tailstock, your banjo are tied together with this gun. So that gives you this point of support, this point of support, and a beefy platform. So it's going to take the abuse of an 18-inch bowl. So the other piece of the puzzle is the handle. Comes with a handle. It's really overkill for what you need. You can do this with probably a simple 8-inch handle. This should be a 20-inch handle. But it's a 5/8 spigot that goes onto that thing. And like I said, you're standing back here when you're operating the thing with the finger. Very simple. And so when I pack it away, I typically pack it away, handle away, and then once I have, it's got a stop collar here. So once I set the proper height, I'll drop the stop collar. Then it's on the banjo. Just move that around. So this stop collar here is going to allow me to kind of go like this, and drop it in every time. So I'll store this away. It's very, once you get it set up at the right height, very simple to put up back again and get the coring immediately. Put these guys back. Yeah. And it'll be a little bit more apparent when I show the other one, but they're all, the 3-bladed one has one, 2, 3 slots for the 3 different size blades. They all ride on this wear pad, small, medium, and large. So look at the large, we'll take what that looks like. That's going to clamp down there, and then the other face this way, the bowl face here, and that blade is going to slice right through. It is not carbide. It is stellite, and I can pass the small blade around. Big one. Around. It is stellite. Stellite is a very hard tool steel they use in the timber industry down in Australia. I hadn't heard of it before until this, but it's very strong, and they're soldered, welded, silver soldered. I don't know the terminology, but onto the cutter blade. So to replace them, they're going to last quite a while. You hone them with a diamond hone. You can touch them up on a CBN or a stone wheel, just very lightly. You don't want to waste too much material. I just would typically hone them. And they'll last a long time, but you can replace them. You've got the individual little cutter that has a bit of dominant silver solder or whatever it's called on the bottom of it. Get a welder, pop that one off. The new ones should come sharp, but sharpen them up when you get the new tip on there, and that'll work. The last thing I didn't show yet is the first show the paper template. So if we're doing the small blade, let's do the medium blades. The small blade. Yes. Yep. No, they're steel. They're hardened steel that is some process where they take all the spring out of it, so they're not going to ever change shape. So once you got the blade loaded up and you got your blank there, you're trying to figure out where you're going to core. The one thing you want to do is that the pivot point on this. This guy is having this pivot point in line with your tailstock and live center, so you get a complete arc when you cut. So right now, this blade is in line here all the way along. And so having this space perpendicular to the lathe bed or parallel with the face of the bowl is helpful, but not always necessary. If you pivot it back a little bit, you may get a shallower bowl. If you pivot it back a bit more, you're going to get a much shallower bowl. one way to measure that is they give you the little cardboard templates where this is for the median blade that is sitting, this point is sitting right on the side. These come with it. They have a little accessory that you can get. It's got a little laser light. Did I put that down? Little mast. This guy on there. Oh, there it is. It's a little laser light, but a little laser on it. See that on the wall. Catch it. Right. So for the medium blade, small, medium, and large, that blade is now sitting right on the corner of the blade there. Hard to see in the picture. I don't know if it works, but so you can kind of see the path all the way up the blade, all the way down to the tip. And so this will show you on the ball where it's going to go. Handy, but not necessary. Easy enough to make one yourself. If you have a hollowing system that has a laser, you could probably jury rig something quite easily. Anything else with this system? So the only thing I haven't told you is price. And this is $899. Not a cheap toy. But works a treat. So yeah, so that's true. You're gonna double your bowl output, but I think more importantly for me is it's going to be a lot easier to instead of having all these shavings on the floor, I have barely any shavings on the floor. So if you're not into saving bowl blanks, save your sweep up time, throw this out instead of a bag full of shavings. But seriously though, it does save you money if you're producing bowls and stuff. Then that is certainly a key advantage. It's a good question. I'm not quite sure, to be honest with you. We'll core this little one and we'll try and get, see if we can get, we'll definitely get two, obviously, but we'll see if we can do a small one and see if we can do a really thin one as well. So. On the Max 4, it'll core an 18-inch bowl. Yeah. 20-inch bowl. Yeah, 20-inch one. And that's why they recommend 18 to 20-inch lathes to maximum. The small one, which I have here in the box, is the original bowl saver. Actually comes in different packaging now. They've got a new package where it's all foam lined and protected. But this was one of the original ones. So, and to be honest, I haven't used this one yet. I put it together, but yeah, why not, right? So the blades are the same as the other system, small and a medium one. So this will core up to 12-inch bowl. That is made major difference with the other one. You can buy tool posts for this of different sizes. So this one will take a 5-inch post. This is a 6-inch post, which I think is going to be the same issue. I brought along somewhere 5-inch post because I knew I was going to be turning on a 1640. So got a little Tommy bar with it, Allen wrench. Oh, thanks, sir. Let me just show that quickly. So this is the blade from the Max 4. This is the blade from the original bowl saver. And they're pretty much identical. This bowl saver one's just a little bit shorter. Otherwise, it's exactly the same radius. So you can interchange it. All right, so let's put the rest of this together. Post. We have a 5-inch post, which should fit us just fine for this platform. We'll take a look at this platform. Much smaller, a lot less beefy, if you will, but the same concept. We've got a platform and a pivoting platform on top of it. So we've got a wear pad for a 2 blade, we've got a clamp block that's going to go in here, and we've got a hole here that's threaded for 2 of them. So on this side, I'm not sure what the threads are. On the bottom side of the tool post, have like 20. And the reason they have threads on it is tool posts are used in 3 different products. There's a Tommy bar hole, the tool post there. Stuff. Got a clamp block, a handle spigot, and some parts pieces. This one has a much shorter handle, which would be quite adequate for the big one as well, to be honest. Bolts. Block, little pin there to guide where that's going to go. And then 2 big cap head screws. It would, yeah, absolutely. Yep. If you're only doing blanks up to 14-inch, you can get a 12-inch ball or smaller. Yeah, absolutely. So we'll do the small blade first, because I don't think we're going to be able to use the large blade on that blank. That is probably just 7 inches. So it might be a little bit too big. But we got the line the back of the blade up at the end of the clamp block. It's resting on the wear pad here. Front. There is the same sort of feature as the original, or as the Max 4. It does have an accessory that you could buy that had the laser light. What I've done with this one, just basically the accessory laser light, this kit comes with this center bolt that has a hole. So I just drilled a hole 5/16. So that put in there now. The light up right on the end of the, right in the middle of the light up. So right there, this hole I drilled. But the one you get at the kit, that's right on the corner of the blade. Overhead shot on. So give it that. There's the laser. And so now we've got the blade lined up, even with this tool post, and actually a little bit tall. So the reason it's going to be maybe a bit of a problem is when we get this Morse tape device. Even smaller posts. That's where we're going to get to. So I'll put this aside for that. Get there. Yes, there is it's not a comprehensive list, but there is a list of lathes and compatibility with the post signs. The PDF document on the website you can download and look at, or just run. So this is the clamp block assembly. This lathe is much shorter, so that's one of the things they upgraded. Yeah. Yeah. This is so what I'm trying to do is raise that up a little bit, fit in the tailspin. This is just me knowing a little bit about what I'm going to run into for positions. All right, so now if we see how everything's going to fit together. Too hot. Right, so I was wrong. It's been known to happen, not too often, right, Shelly? Not always entertaining or captivating TV to watch guys. You kind of get what you have to go through. So that is still a little bit too high. So wondering, I could, yeah, a lot of. It's threads on the bottom for. They use the same post for the pro mount carving stand. The carving stand has a base plate that you can mount your bench. So that's one of the other things that they use it for. This way. It's also used for the irons tool gate, so they could make this one a little bit. That looks like that work. I don't know if this is going to work this way. Not going to work this way. Get away from it here. All right, it's not really meant to go this way because we're kind of running out of screws, but that is going to secure us a little bit there, getting interference with knob stuff. That's going to help secure. Want this down, that up. All right, so that's basic setup. So now the handle will go on there, and we're set to go pretty much. Put that in there. Down here. Steel. All right, so now what we've got here is a lathe that have a banjo and a tailstock kind of move in unison. So they're kind of locked together. Got this set up, which should be at center, but it's not really at center. And then, so once that's set, then you can set this collar and have it sit there all the time, right position. So that there. Yep, one time, and then you're set to go. There we go. So yeah, that's set up. Of course, I would take the blade out. So that just comes out, set on the shelf, and pour again, you're set to go. All right, so let's see how this thing works. A little bit high. Honestly, I don't know. Stickiness. This bar is bent. Yeah, it's got a slight bending. That's fine. It's that's a good question. I don't know why it's a little high in this. This is a 16 to 40, right? Yeah. Got that on there. We're gonna line up where we're gonna cut. I'm gonna get this. A couple of things I want to do. Let me get the banjo. Set up to give me the most support. So I'm setting it diagonal. This is something that one of the Fort Worth club members at SWAT kind of recommended. Set the banjo so it's covering most of the 45-degree angle thereabouts. So you got most of the weight of the banjo over top of the bed, rather than this way. This way. It's going to give you a bit more weight distribution. I'm going to pull it back a little bit to get my pivot point in line with my center, and kind of see where I'm at this point in terms of there. Now I've got a choice of where I'm going to cut a bolt. So trying to keep this pivot point in the middle, I'm right now naturally going to cut this bowl out here at this spacing between the faceplate of or the edge of the bowl saver and the base of the blade. Where is that path going to be? Let's see. So that, let's see an overhead. There's the dot there. Put a line there. So that's the depth of that bowl is going to cut. Blade. Yeah, right on the edge of that blade. Travels right up the blade. So that's where that's going to go. So that's pretty good, but I really don't want one. I'm going to try and get two bowls in this thing, which we can. Or sorry, three total. So I'm going to pivot this thing a little bit that way, and a little bit away from the from off the pivot point, really, and too close there. And so now I'm going to get a much shallower bowl. Right, so I'm going to go here. Now this bottom is there. So now I've got, and the question is can I complete the bowl? Will my blade run out of room? So this is something I've just kind of picked up on, the geometry of how this thing works. If I put the pivot point on that side, far side of the axis of turning, then this cutter will create a complete bowl. If I pull that pivot point back this side, my side of the axis of turning, this pivot point, you won't have enough room if I pull it back a little bit. As this blade goes through and hits the stop, you're not going to quite make it quite the center. You can pull it this side of the pivot point, this side of the axis. So that's something we're aware of. How much you have there, maybe you can knock it out with a hammer, pry bar, whatever it is. But just be aware that if you pull it, the pivot point on the turner side of the axis, you may run a cutter capability. So, but going on the other side, you shouldn't have a problem. So we'll line it up to do a small bowl right there. And so that's how a small bowl get even a smaller bowl. You can even do this technique with a medium blade and get a smaller bowl or medium blade, or even a large blade on max 4. You can pivot this guy away, back a little bit, kind of make that happen. I still try and keep the wear pad or the entrance point of the blade close to the bowl flag. That's why I'm kind of keeping this closed, but moving the pivot point away. And then we're set. I'm going to get 3. We're going to try 3. So we're going to do one here and then one on the inside. So this brings up a great question, Shelley. Good audience participation. Uh, what do you core first, the inside or the biggest bowl? All right. So professional turners will core the biggest bowl first. So they'll do the biggest bowl, get the biggest blank out of it. They'll take the core and either mount that back up, put a tenon on it, remount it, and return, get another bowl. The money is in the biggest bowl, so they want to get the money bowl first. So that's why they do that. And but for me, I'm just going to, because it's convenient, I'm just going to do a lot of people do it this way, the small bowl and the next bowl outwards from there. The risk you run is not having enough meat at the bottom of the core, the inside ones, running out of the bowl. But we've got kind of marks figured out where we're going to get 1, 2, 3 bolts. All right, so speed down. I need to change the belt pulley to the low range. That does help. I started that hard ash one with a high speed pulley, and it was bare. So once I went to low speed, it was fine. So take my advice, learn from what I did. Yep. Yeah, so I haven't, I don't turn a lot in low speed. But I started doing this stuff. I haven't done a lot of this. To be honest, this is going to be board number 8. But learned that low speed and nothing else. This is a noisy process, so just be aware. It's going to get a little loud. What's that? Yeah, tailstock has to go up. And yeah, there are. I've got one up for the Max 4, the big one. A couple. I need to redo them. They're, shall I said, not very good. I did. Yeah, it was last year. So, pretty much the same. We got the same 2 points of contact. The tailstock here and and the tailstock here, and the this little one doesn't come with a tailstock thread, but we'll see. I think it should be fine. I haven't, like I said, I haven't used this one before. This will be a good experiment. All right. So that's locked down. Tailstock's locked down. This is in there. I'll lock that off. This is clamped down on the wear pad. We got speed to 0. We check the chuck. Giggles. tight. Running a little bit out on the outside, but that doesn't matter to me. It's rough out. So speed. So this is really a slow speed process. You don't need to go faster than 600 RPM, maybe a little over that. But you're cutting into face grain here at the beginning. Once you kind of get through the face grain, hit that mark. So we're going to kind of core that kind of bowl. Once we get down through face grain here, it's pretty easy going. Once we turn this corner, now we're cutting end grain. So once we get around this corner, we're cutting end grain. So once we start doing that, we are really kind of beating this tool up a little bit. You'll see the shavings change from shavings to sawdust, and you'll hear the change, and you'll get a lot grabbier. And that's where one of the reasons also is not only end grain, but the foot per second speed on the inside is a lot slower. So that's when we turn the speed up. So we'll start around 350, maybe 400. By the time we finish, we'll be probably up to 60. All right, so timer's on. Speed 270, 340, 350, somewhere there. So we'll start there, see how it goes. I haven't sharpened this one at all. It's straight from the factory, by the way, as well. One of the things you might have, I don't know if you maybe didn't notice, on the small one I passed around. Let me, yeah, no. Well, it's funny because these things get dropped on the SWAT floor, I think probably 4 times this last SWAT. Oh, it's 6 times last year. And so they do dull up a little bit, but they held up very well. Nothing chipped, nothing like that. But can you get a close-up, Steve, on this for a minute? All right, so that's good. So on the front of this guy, when I hone it, there, I will hone the front edge, and I want to keep it square across the top. I want these points to be nice and sharp and pointy. This is kind of counterintuitive if you've seen the diamond-shaped one, the cold floor, I think the one way. I have a different shape on the tip. But they liken these tips. You see it's wider at the front than the blade. These are like set on a bandsaw blade or a table saw blade. They're kind of set out a little bit. That's where most of your clearance for cutting is going to happen. So you want to keep it straight. So if you're honing that way, hone straight across flat, whether it's up or down or sideways, I don't think it matters. But what I did also on this is I put a tiny top bevel on it. So I took my hone and I just honed a small top bevel. What that helped me with is with that dry ash bowl, to put a negative rake on it, and it helped make it a bit easier. So you can put a top bevel on it. It's hard to see, but there's a little bit of a top bevel on that guy. So something else you can try if you've got some real kind of nasty sort of wood to cut. But yeah, this should be sharp. In fact, this one's again, I can stand back out of the way, not really worry about it. You can see the shavings are nice and curly. Really not that loud, but it was louder at SWAT for some reason. I don't know why. Maybe a bigger haul or something. But once we get around the corner, it'll get loud. When you, I sometimes put my 2 fingers on the blade just to kind of feel what's happening. I've just got a little bit of pressure on the tailstock or the handle, not the tailstock, but the handle, to kind of feel what's going on. As long as there's shavings coming out, I'm happy. If I start to see it clog up, I'll back out and clear the shavings. There we go. So we had a big shaving, that's why it wasn't cutting. I'm gonna rotate it by hand and kind of lean it out. We've hit the this branch or this pit that's going through. Exactly what we hit down here. So when we get to that point, we'll just start up. I'll kind of feed it back in. I'll get to that point. I've got this sawdust line here that I know exactly where I'm going to be when that happens. So I'll ease up to it and just kind of just gently touch it. Slow my feed down or my pressure on the cutter and just let it work through it. See, the shavings are now kind of smaller. They're not ribbons anymore. We're starting to turn that corner a little bit. Kind of you can feel it kick every once in a while. That's where you're starting to hit end grain. You can hear that little knock every once in a while. There. And it could be that pith as well. No, not very little. I'm using my body to kind of stabilize myself so I don't get all jerky work. I don't want to be way back here with it, kind of be like that. I think we can go up a little bit of speed. That's about 400 now. Not a super fast process, but you look at the amount of shavings we're putting on the floor, it's a lot less than if you're to do a regular bowl cutting. Leave those shavings. Now, moving over that. This knob is really meant to be a bottom. I think we've changed our path a little bit because of that. We're just making a little bit wider cut, which is fine. It's actually a strategy you use. Normally, I'd put the extra bit of cut on the inside of the bowl, not the outside. That's just where we ended up. And it's a way to kind of relieve some of the space down there so that you can kind of get around this corner and combat the combat that end grain. A bit more speed. 450. My tenon's still holding. Every once in a while, this will knock it out of the tenon, or knock the tenon out of the chuck. Getting close. I can hear the noise change. It gets to a lower pitch. And, see, we got some flex there. Might be able to snap it across the one, right? Go. So we've got a pretty good cut in there, besides all of the little things, but we did core through or cut through the pith there. So let's see. Big branch section going through there and on the other side. there. Yeah. All right. So let's use the same blade and we'll line up for try and fix this thing. Greatest situation. I should have practiced on this lathe. No, yeah, she says all the time. I tell her, no, I should practice. Yeah. All right. So let's split the difference on this bowl and line this up there. Put this closer. Want that down. See. See if we're still on that mark. Still with the small blade, and we're close to that mark. I think that's going to be good. We got enough room down there. I think that's probably the answer. So we'll go with that cut in the bottom. Are we okay with that? No, we're cutting halfway between this guy, and yeah, I'm gonna go there. When I practiced or did this at SWAT, I was cautious and left a pretty thick bottom of bowls. I think Sam, you took them away. Have you finished those yet, or just drying out? Well, the other cutter is going to be too big um, for this bowl. If I put this one in, then I'm cutting. I mean, I can cut the outside of this bowl with this cutter probably. My blank is too small for this. So this is uh, the little one's probably from a 3-inch bowl. This is probably 4-inch. So you can do a 3-inch up to about, I think, one of the 8, maybe 6, 8-inch with the small blade, and then um, 5 up to 12 inches with it. It's a bit of a range, but with the side bowl blade, which is probably about 7.5 inches, maybe. But we'll set it up there. I'm gonna see if I can get this guy a bit better set in here. There we go. See how that looks. All right. Speed back down to 0. Check that. A little tight all the way around, so I'm happy with that. All right, we'll get up to 350, 370, somewhere in there. This is still the small blade. We've just adjusted how close our pivot point is to the bowl blank, and we've adjusted our pivot point this way. It's now should be dead on center. If I look down this guy, I can see the center of the bowl down there. So we're nice and centered, the pivot point on the axle of the lathe, and we're closer to the bowl blank, so we're going to go deeper. All makes sense, I think, right? So, all right, exciting stuff. Here we go. Does somebody want to try this? Pete, you want to come up and do it? All right. Anybody else? I went and pushed a little bit too hard. Consistent push works well to kind of stop and start, and it doesn't like that quite as much because you're kind of putting a shock to the cutter and grabbing a bunch of wood in a short amount of time. So constant pressure works well. I just got to feel how much that is. Your different woods are going to react differently. So Sam thought he might have had some Bradford pear. That would have been nice and buttery to probably core. I'll go up a little bit in speed. Just felt like the cutter was slowing down a little bit, or the cutting action was slowing down, so I sped up a little bit. We're starting to turn that corner. I can feel the knocking just starting. Knocking is the end grain hitting every twice a revolution. A little bit more speed. And just patience. And just kind of watch to make sure the shavings are coming out. It's just meaning that there's not enough room for all the shavings to come out. So that'll bind up and make it a little bit sticky in there. Yeah, I'm just kind of getting all the shavings out, just kind of by hand. And looking down in there, it's a big pile. Trying to get them out. It's just coming up to my line where my sawdust is. One thing I'm feeling is a bit of stickiness on the plate. So I might wax between the base plate and the rotating plate. I'm putting some pressure on it, but it's not cutting, so that means I've got some shaving stuck in there. Let's glue it on me again. 492. That's tight. There's that catch. I'm just knocking it. I can feel it. A little bit more speed. And when you're coring like this, the ball, when it comes free, because you got this plate here, the only place it's going to go is down there. So it's not going to fly up or out. It's just going to either sit there or fall to the floor in front of the lathe. We'll core all the way through and see that happen. You got steel-toed shoes on, right? There it goes. Well done. Yay. So let's see. That's not bad. That actually came out quite well, I think. So let me get the stack of them. We'll see what they all look like. Well, tonight it was kind of arbitrary. I didn't really plan it out. So, but they are. Well, this is really quite nice. I actually think I did a good job. So, yeah. So I got my tool. I'll measure all things here. So we're 0.83 inches there and 1.0 inches. So we're 13th of an inch. So that's probably a quarter of an inch. Right? So not too bad. This one seems pretty consistent. I was, to be honest, rather amazed with myself. Half an inch, half 0.55, 0.51, 0.47, 0.43 at the bottom. So pretty good all the way through. Yeah, I mean, what do they say? An inch for every 10 inches of diameter is what your overall thickness. So I think the bottom one is definitely plenty. You know, 0.8 or 0.75, three-quarters of an inch for 7-inch bowl. The middle one is maybe a bit thin, but I think you'd still get a bowl. I'd probably turn that one back just see how. Yeah, yeah. I didn't really show it, but I mean, we can put this one up. Just kind of outline what we kind of did and didn't really talk about too much. Is laying out your plan, I guess. I don't think I'll core this one, but I don't know what time we're at. We're probably close to time. So we can if I bring this back up and just kind of do some planning. All right. Pardon? Oh, tail socket. Yeah, good idea. So if I look at this, I don't have a tape measure. I don't have this. Looks like about 12 inches, maybe, right? So planning this out, looks like I started one there, but so you could get one, and then if this is 12 inches, I want probably an inch or more of wall thickness. So I want to go. I think I put a sharp better. Yeah. So I probably want to go there, my first bowl. And this looks pretty good for a second bowl, to be honest. There. And so that's probably where I'd start planning and laying out is working from the outside to the inside. How big is this? How wall thickness do I want? And so from here, okay, do I want to cut this path or do I want to cut this path? So doesn't really matter. I think, yes, Steve. I probably could, yeah. Uh, let's, yeah, well, let's go through that exercise. That's a great question. So if I was to, oh yeah. Oh, good point. Good point. One knife at a time. You can't do both at the same time. 5 horsepower lathe maybe, and another set of underpants. So may help. But if I, yeah. Well, I had the display of the Max 4 at SWAT. I had all three blades, and it's oh, you can core three blades at once. So they show this as kind of being stored in here. I don't know if that works, but yeah, we can just leave that in there and keep it stored. Put in the big blade. Yeah, this is a two blade. This is the original bowl saver, and this one is with tool post is 609. So that is the large blade, or actually the medium blade if you get so technical. So let's just see where the path would go with this one. We'll use the laser light and kind of get an idea whether or not we can really core with this large blade, the medium blade in here. Could be that it's, yeah, it's not going to do the right path to get the bowl shape you want. Tighten this down when it's not on flat. Want to get it on the wear pad here. You tighten it down otherwise. Let's see, it's weird. Where this ends up. Okay, so if I kind of get up close and kind of figure I'm going to be somewhat parallel with the platform, kind of just lock this down a little bit to see where, and then get the laser light. Or you could use the templates. I think with the small one, you get a printout of the templates. You don't get the cardboard, so it's really Mickey Mouse. So that's going to be way too deep. Let's verify that with the laser. So this is the medium blade. So I'll go in the second hole, right on the edge of the knife here, and I'm on my chuck way down here. So that means I got to pull this back. Want to, not the banjo, I want to loosen the post, and that's all. Getting used to the different lathes. I want to kind of pivot this guy this way until my light goes to where I want it. I'm kind of lined up with my cutting line. There. A bit to bottom. That looks pretty good right there to me. But this is not going to work. We need to move this to the other side. This is a bit unfortunate. This doesn't quite fit correctly. It does normally. So, but I've had to turn it upside down because the tool post is even a 5-inch tool post is too tall for this lathe, which I don't understand why. So change that to that. Spot. There. It's fine. Just replace this prime knob with a knob. Yeah, that's kind of what I've been doing here, Gary. It's just setting this gap to pull this pivot point back so that my laser goes back or my bottom goes back. So if I pivot that a bit more, then we got a thicker bottom. I don't know. But that's pretty good. Even about there. So that would be the setup I would do for this one. So we could, how much time do we have? We're done? Yeah. All right. So, I mean, that's kind of set up in bowl coring. So I'll leave that set there for you guys' empty bowls. I'm going to take this one with me if you don't mind. I'm going to do a proper YouTube video. This stuff seems to come really nice. The sticker. Sticker? No, con. I'm not an arborist. I don't know. It's wood. Wood. All right. So, any questions? Ask away. But yeah, thanks for having me. Thank you all.